Okay, let's just get this out of the way. We're not here to tell you scary bedtime stories. We're opening up the unsolved case files on some of the African continent's most notorious cryptids. But here's the twist. We're not treating them like folklore. We're analyzing them as predators.
So, let me just throw this idea at you. What if all those ancient tales aren't just warnings to keep kids in line? What if they're actually tactical blueprints, incredibly detailed profiles of predators, spelling out their hunting methods, their territories, and the kind of evidence they leave behind?
And that's really the heart of what we're doing here, something we're calling supernatural logistics. Think of it like this. We're putting on our detective hats, looking at these creatures through a true crime lens. We're going to analyze their patterns, their methods, and the chilling proof they might just exist.
Our process is pretty straightforward. First, we map out the hunting grounds. You know, where do they operate? Then, we figure out the specific rules of engagement. How does this thing hunt? And finally, we examine the forensic evidence left at the scene. All right, let's dive in.
You know, every single predator, whether it's a lion on the savannah or something that completely defies explanation, operates on a blueprint. There's a pattern to its behavior that you can study, you can analyze, and hopefully you can understand it.
So let's open our first case file. And this one, well, this isn't some ghost or spirit. We're talking about a physical threat with a terrifyingly specific appetite. They call it the brain sucker.
Okay, picture this. The Mzintlava River in South Africa. The year is 1997. And what happened here wasn't just some local tragedy. It was a deep mystery that completely baffled the police and absolutely terrified the community.
9 bodies. That's the number investigators were faced with. Pulled from the murky waters of that river, one right after the other. But honestly, it wasn't the number that was so shocking. It was the cause of death.
The forensic consistency here is just chilling. According to the reports, every single victim was found in the same river with the exact same unbelievably gruesome injury. Their brains were gone. Now, officials tried to blame face-eating crabs, seriously, but the locals, they knew better.
According to the local legends, the culprit was crystal clear. This wasn't any animal they knew. The lore is brutally direct about it. It doesn't want the meat. It's a specialist.
And get this, the locals had a surprisingly detailed profile. They call it the Mamlambo, a massive 20-meter serpent with the head of a horse and glowing green eyes. And its hunting method is pure logistics. It only attacks during thunderstorms, using the chaos of the storm to mask its approach. Pretty smart, huh?
All right, for our next case, the threat evolves. We're shifting from a physical predator to something way more insidious. A creature whose greatest weapon isn't claws or teeth, but fear itself. This is the Shadow Terror.
The year is 1995, and we're on the island of Zanzibar. An entire population is about to be gripped by a panic so intense it brings daily life to a grinding, screeching halt.
Meet the Popobawa. Now, this creature is less of a physical monster and more of a psychological weapon. It's actually a fascinating case study in mass hysteria. It proves just how powerful a story, a single rumor, can be. Powerful enough to paralyze an entire society.
The speed at which this fear spread is just staggering. I mean, within a single month, the Popobawa phenomenon went from just a few reports on one island to causing citywide shutdowns on another. The threat wasn't in the streets, it was in people's minds.
Which really makes you wonder, right? If the monster is intangible, just a shadow in your mind, what are the logistics of survival? How in the world do you fight an enemy that might not even be there?
But you know, humans are resourceful. In southern Africa, a similar shadow creature called the Tikaloshe is believed to be really short. So locals came up with a practical, totally logical defense: raise your bed on bricks. It's a perfect example of creating a physical solution for a psychological threat.
For our final case file, we turn from these external threats to the ultimate internal one. The monster that doesn't hunt you from the shadows, but from right beside you. The predator that wears a human face.
Our investigation now takes us to Angola, where the logistics of predation aren't about storms or fear. It's all about charisma, seduction, and the ultimate, most devastating betrayal.
This is the Kishi. To the world, from the front, it appears as a handsome, charming man. But on the back of its head, totally hidden from view, is its true nature, the ravenous, hungry face of a hyena.
The quiche's whole predatory model is built on deception. It doesn't need to stalk in the dark. It operates in plain sight, using its human face to lure victims with charm, to gain their trust, and to isolate them. Its hunting ground isn't the wilderness, it's society itself.
And this presents the most complex logistical problem of all, doesn't it? How do you spot a threat that is expertly disguised as a friend? How can you possibly defend against something you can't even identify until it's already too late?
There's actually a fascinating parallel in the myth of the Ninki Nanka, a dragon whose gaze is fatal. The rule is simple: if you see it, you die. But the countermeasure is genius. Use a mirror. Force the creature to confront its own deadly reflection. It shows that sometimes a monster's greatest weakness is being forced to see its own true nature.
So, from the physical horror of the brainsucker, to the psychological warfare of the shadow terror, to the social deception of the two-faced seducer, a clear pattern starts to emerge. These aren't just random stories. They are logistical blueprints for survival, explaining the unexplainable, whether that's a string of mysterious deaths, a wave of mass panic, or the very real danger of misplaced trust. They remain because they're useful.
In the end, these myths provide a framework, a kind of supernatural logic for understanding chaos. So, I'll leave you with this. What are the monsters in your world? What unexplained events could be understood if you just started looking for the blueprint?